All right, let's take you now to some breaking news this hour. Renowned photographer and anti-apartheid activist Dr. Peter Magubane has passed away. Joining us now on the line is his sister, Fikile Magubane. Ma'am, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And of course, we are hearing of this passing, and we just want you to confirm, of course, when the death occurred and also just the circumstances, where possible, of Dr. Magubane's death.
Yes, let me just correct you. This is Fikile Magubane, Peter Magubane's daughter, not his sister. It is his daughter speaking. My father passed peacefully today at midday. He was not well. He's passed on peacefully.
I'm sorry for that, and condolences to you and your family. Of course, your father would have been celebrating his birthday in a couple of days. I mean, just looking at his very rich history, just a few words from you, perhaps, in terms of how you will remember him.
Yes, my father would have been 92 on the 18th of January. We will remember him as his family because I represent the family. We will remember him as a very hard-working, conscientious photographer. He was really very, very, very passionate about his work. Everything else would stop when it comes to his work. So for now, I think this is what one would like to say that we are very, very, pained with the passing of our father today.
Of course, I understand how difficult it must be. And of course, one of our fondest memories, of course, outside of just his rich history and what he contributed to the country, particularly during the hard apartheid years, just going into where we are, in South Africa, going into our, 30 years celebrations of our freedom, one would remember also how just recently last year, the government, also acknowledged his work and his contribution. I'm sure as a family, you are at least, satisfied that he has left a very rich legacy, not only for you as a family, but also for the country.
Yes, definitely he has. I have here his granddaughter can know more about his legacy. Could you just talk? And it's Fikile Magubane.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Condolences again from, the SABC and perhaps the entire nation at this difficult time. We are talking about, the legacy of Dr. Peter Magubane at this point in time. And of course, he leaves a very rich one. It is, of course, also very saddening that he dies a few days just before he celebrates his birthday. Just a few words from you in terms of how he should be celebrated and remembered.
Well, I mean, you'll have to forgive me. I'm a bit taken off guard. I didn't realize I was going to have to speak to anyone at this point. But, I mean, South Africa has a very complicated history, and I think that he was at the forefront of capturing and allowing people around the world to see what was happening to Black people in this country. He dedicated his life to doing that. It's about 50 years behind the camera. But I think for me, maybe, I don't want him to just be remembered as a struggle photographer, but to be hailed as an artist who was concerned for his people, to be remembered as a photojournalist, to be remembered as an activist. Obviously, we remember him as our grandfather, our father, and all of this, but he was a family man. And yeah, I mean, he dedicated his life to the struggle. I just think it's important that we encourage the disciplines of photography in South Africa. It's a big art, and I just think it's very underfunded. And I think he was just too old to be able to improve that situation. But I think that there are a lot of opportunities that art and culture is missing out on. And he was always very vocal about that we should celebrate people while they're alive, but also make sure that generations of people who want to be artists, who want to be journalists, who want to be, people who tell our story, that they have the opportunity and the resources to do so.
Well, thank you so much for your time and coming on to the show. Once again, condolences to you and the rest of the family. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you so much.
All right, of course, the family there of Dr. Fikile Magubane. It is the breaking news story of this hour. Renowned photographer and anti-apartheid activist Dr. Fikile Magubane died this afternoon. Of course, condolences will be I'm sure we'll be taking a few more, expressions from particularly government officials in terms of his contribution. Magubane worked under the repressive apartheid government and covered many events, milestone events, particularly the 1976 June 16 student uprising.